Just a recap on probability and significance, because some students struggle with this bit when it comes in the exam. So remember, probability is the likelihood of something happening. That's how it's calculated. If the probability is 0, it's statistical impossibility. If it's 1, it's a statistical certainty. You could be asked to calculate a probability. So it's the amount of outcomes out of potential outcomes. There are 3 probabilities here, if you would like to calculate them. That is your answer. Why psychologists care about probability is to see how likely it is their results were due to chance. So it's how likely that something has happened due to luck. That's why psychologists use probability. You could, in an exam, be asked to rank probabilities and how likely that the results are due to chance. So here are 4. That probability there is the least significant because it's closest to 1. 0.05 is the most significant because it's closer to 0. Significance is the level at which the null hypothesis is accepted or rejected, so how sure we are that a difference or correlation exists. A statistical test tells us how probable something is. We need to look at the hypotheses and decide which hypothesis is true or correct. We use a 5% level of significance, or 0.05. This is the likelihood of getting the findings if the null hypothesis is true. So it's a 5% chance that everything's due to luck and a 95% chance that stuff's worked. The 5% level is used. The 5% level is used because it strikes a balance between making a type 1 or a type 2 error, and so we can kind of be 95% sure that it wasn't chance. So probability is how likely that something will happen. Stats test, inferential test probability. The null hypothesis says there's no relationship, and if the probability of the null hypothesis being correct is lower than the level of significance, then the null hypothesis can be rejected. Remember, the results from a stats test or an inferential test is a calculated value. To check for significance, we compare it to a critical value, so it's that value in a table that already exists. And each statistical test has its own table of critical values, and those are given to you if you need them in an exam. That's a critical value table on the right. You either need to have an N value or a degree of freedom value when looking up a critical value table. You need to know whether you're looking at a 1 or a 2-tailed test. So whether that has a directional 1-tailed or a non-directional 2-tailed hypothesis. And you need to know what level of significance you're looking for. And it will be 5% or 0.05 unless you are told otherwise. If you're told otherwise, if they refer to a different level of significance, the question is normally asking about errors. And just a reminder, these are the 2 errors, type 1 and type 2, and this is when they are likely to occur.